Real estate market in Central Florida and across the nation for the most part has been on absolute fire. But what about foreclosures? I've started to see some reports, and I've even had some conversations with some people that are very, very concerned about a mass filing of foreclosures in 2021. Today, we are going to address concerns versus reality, and we're going to talk about the top 5 things you need to know about forbearances and foreclosures and what it has to do with the Central Florida real estate market. So stick around. We'll be right back. Hey, what's up guys? Don Sprinkle here, your Central Florida specialist, and today we are going to talk about the top 5 things you're going to want to know about foreclosures and forbearances as we move into 2021. Really quickly though, if this is your first time to our channel and you want to learn everything there is to know about what it's like to live, work, play, and thrive in the Orlando metro area, then make sure you tap that subscribe button and you ring that notification bell if you're watching this on YouTube, because we don't want you to miss out on any of the awesome videos we're putting out to you guys on a weekly basis. We're working with people from around the country, locally, regionally, and nationwide every single day. We absolutely love it. So if there's anything that we can do for you, please give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, however you'd like to communicate. We got your back when moving to or living in the Orlando metro area. So let's get started. Starting with number 1, early forbearance estimates were way off. Back when this pandemic first started, back around March into April and May, a lot of the leading news experts were predicting a forbearance rate across the nation as high as 30%. The reality is the peak of forbearances only got to about 8.6% of all homes across the entire nation. Currently, right now, we're only sitting at about 5.5% of all homes nationwide. And that actually leads us to number 2 on our list, and that is that the lending institutions and the banks and the government do not want a repeat of 2008 and 2009 all over again. They're going to do everything they can to help homeowners. That is why we have this forbearance moratorium in place to begin with, and that's why they're also extending it. The forbearance moratorium only technically applies to government-backed or government-guaranteed loans, so FHA and VA type loans. It technically does not apply to privately held loans or conventional type loans that are not backed by the government, but a lot of these lending institutions are following suit and allowing that forbearance moratorium to apply to the privately held mortgages of their customers as well, because they do not want to see a bunch of homes go into foreclosure and for the entire market to come crashing down. We do not want a repeat of 10-12 years ago. Number 3 on our list, which I found very interesting, was that many of the families that took the forbearance option didn't even need to take the forbearance. Out of the almost 6.5 million families that took the forbearance, over 2.5 million continued to actually pay their mortgage. 625,000 families actually paid off their mortgage while they were in forbearance, and only about 2.2 million of that 6.5 million actually extended their forbearance for another 180 days. 116,000 in actual foreclosure. Those are definitely some of the ones that we're going to want to watch as we move into 2021 and just keep an eye on. But I find that very interesting when you look at the actual numbers and you really break down the data and categorize, what sort of situation these different homeowners were in, and you find out that over half, or at least half of these homeowners, almost half, didn't even need the forbearance, and they continued to make their payments just like normal. They kind of used it as an just in case or as an insurance policy, which I can't really blame them for doing that. And a small percentage, over 500,000, over 500,000 homeowners actually paid off their mortgage while it was in forbearance. It gets even more interesting with number 4, as the number of reported filings of foreclosures really doesn't tell the whole story, and here's why. Third quarter numbers for 2020 reported increases of foreclosures across the nation, and news outlets were falling over themselves to get to the press and tell everyone about a mass exponential increase of foreclosures, that the world was imploding and that we were all doomed. It's pretty much what I saw from a lot of news reports that were coming out, and I know that I have people calling me and messaging me that were concerned as well. But here are what the actual numbers are looking like. So let's pay attention to this really quick because it's super important. Reality is that the increase of these foreclosures was from only about 26,000 reported foreclosures in the second quarter to a little over 100,000 in the third quarter. It is actually about a 300% increase, but what the actual numbers in the history of foreclosures that's really interesting that people really need to know, and this is the part that was conveniently left out by a lot of news reports, is that historically, going back to the early 1990s, the average number of foreclosures per quarter is a little over 200,000, about 206,000 per quarter. So in the second quarter of 2020, we only saw about 26,000, well below the typical average going back to the 1990s. And a lot of that had to do with the forbearance moratorium. And as we moved into the third quarter, a lot of these homes came off the forbearance, or some of these homes actually went into foreclosure. So we did see an increase of foreclosures, but we are still well below the typical average quarter in terms of forbearances for a year over year. And again, this goes back all the way to the 1990s in terms of what the average number of forbearances is per quarter. I think the other thing that is very, very important to point out is that back during the housing crisis at the peak, we were seeing as many as almost 500,000 foreclosures every single quarter. We are not even scratching the surface right now at 115,000. Number 5 on our list, and probably one of the most important things that's going to keep our market healthy as we move into 2021, is the equity that homeowners have in their home. 58.7% of homeowners nationwide have at least 60% equity in their home. In fact, the average homeowner right now has about $194,000 in equity in their home. In the Orlando metro area, home values, the median home price value increased about $30,000 this year, from about $285 to just a little over $315. The average days on market as well has decreased from January of last year. We were at about 29 days to right now in December, in winter, we're only averaging about 9 to 10 days on market for a listing. So the value is there, and the low interest rates are definitely keeping the buyers out there and keeping their purchase power at a high, strong, competitive point. The other interesting fact right now is that almost 40%, 38.2% of homeowners nationwide actually own their home outright. They have no mortgage, they don't owe the bank anything, compared to 2006, 2007, when only about 10% of homeowners even owned their home. And the equity amount in their homes at that point for the majority of Americans was not even anywhere near 60% or that 40% that we're seeing today with homeowners. We have homeowners that bought at low prices in the early 2010s, right after the market crash, and they've been sitting on equity for about 10 years as it has exponentially increased. So there's a lot of homeowners out there that have a lot of options, and if there's somebody that may be out of a job, or maybe their situation has changed because of COVID and they're having to cut back on expenses, most homeowners with sitting on that type of equity, they're going to sell their home before they walk away from it and give that money and give that house back to the bank. So here's the thing, I know that we are in the Orlando metro area, and I know that our area is highly driven by tourism, and there's no doubt there's people that have been affected, and there's some people that are still going to be affected as we move into 2021. But I just wanted to put some things into perspective, because at the end of the day, the job of the news is not to clarify, it's to terrify, and they're not always going to give you the whole story, and it really takes somebody to really look at the hard numbers and the facts and compare those numbers to previous years to really see where we're at. And when you really look at that stuff, it's not as doom and gloom as some news outlets might lead you to believe. The other important thing to remember about our economy right now is that there was nothing fundamentally wrong with our economy in 2020. This was a health crisis. This was not an economic crisis or a stock market crisis or anything fundamentally wrong. This was purely systemic. And with the amount of equity that we have in homes and the low interest rates, we are going to see a recovery, and we're already starting to see a recovery as well in a lot of different areas. So hopefully as we move into 2021, depending on how this pandemic and COVID and everything goes, I know we're getting the vaccine and stuff. There's different opinions on that. I'm not going to go into that, anything like that, but I just want to dispel some rumors out there and put some reassurance back into some people's minds that might be thinking about buying or selling in 2021. At the end of the day, I get that question is it a good time to buy or sell right now? And at the end of the day, it really comes down to, is it a good time to buy or sell or move for you and your family. What's going to be the best situation for you guys and make the most sense. So like I said, if there's any questions that you have about what we've covered today, any further clarification that you might need, any thoughts or comments, please drop a comment down below, send me a message. I love the feedback. If there's anything in particular that maybe we didn't cover today, or anything about the Orlando market, or the just the area, in the area that maybe we haven't covered, reach out to us. I'm more than happy to do a personal video, but you got to give us a call, you got to shoot us a text, you got to send us an email, you got to reach out to us. So no matter how you'd like to communicate, we got your back when moving to or living in Orlando, Florida. So until next time, I'm Don Sprinkle, your Central Florida specialist. I'll catch you later.